This thing looks like it's being held up by rope of some sort. There is the offbeat possibility that maybe the craft that holds everything up is invisible.
Have you ever stopped to think about whether we're truly alone in the universe? For years, the idea of life beyond Earth has sparked curiosity and debate. But what if the truth is even stranger than we ever thought? What if scientists have found actual proof of UFOs? And the Pentagon doesn't want us to know? In this video, we're diving into new findings that strongly suggest UFOs might be real, and that the government could be keeping it from the public. Picture looking up at the sky and noticing something unusual, something that can't be explained. That's what we call a UFO. These unidentified flying objects have been puzzling people for generations. After World War II, when rockets and new flying technology came into play, reports of UFO sightings started to rise. Some even believed these objects might be alien visitors from other planets. People from different parts of the world have shared stories of strange lights and objects in the sky. Some described lights moving at unusual speeds. Others saw oddly shaped objects hovering above. Investigations were done, but some of these cases were never solved. That's part of what makes UFOs so interesting. The thought of aliens coming to Earth has inspired countless books and films. Can you imagine creatures from other worlds zipping through space in high-tech spacecraft? Sounds exciting, doesn't it? Even though many sightings seem hard to explain, they can't all be brushed off as just fantasy. Let's begin with a case known as the Shag Harbor incident. This case happened on October 4th, 1967, in a small fishing village called Shag Harbor in Nova Scotia, Canada. That evening, several people reported seeing mysterious lights in the sky and something falling toward the ocean. Eyewitnesses, including residents, police officers, and pilots, said they saw a glowing object moving strangely through the sky. It gave off a bright light and appeared to be under some kind of control, which made it unlikely to be something natural, like a meteor. As it dropped closer to the water, there was a loud noise, followed by a flash of light when it hit the harbour. People feared a plane had crashed and immediately began a search and rescue effort, hoping to save anyone who might be inside. But despite a full-scale search, no debris or wreckage was ever found either in the water or along the shore. The complete lack of physical evidence only added more mystery to the event. Since the object could have been a foreign aircraft or something dangerous, government agencies like the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the Canadian military joined the investigation. Their aim was to figure out what the object was and whether it posed any risk. After their investigation, officials still couldn't say what the object was or where it came from. The case was officially labelled as unknown, meaning no normal explanation could be found. Over time, the Shag Harbor incident gained attention from people interested in UFO cases. It's now seen as one of Canada's most well-known UFO sightings, especially because of the number of credible witnesses and the lack of a solid explanation. Even with all the research and questions asked since then, no one has been able to clearly identify what crashed into Shag Harbor that night. The case remains open and continues to draw interest from those who follow UFO reports. If that didn't raise your curiosity, then you'll want to hear about the next case, the Lakenheath Bentwaters incident. Also known as the Rendlesham Forest incident, this case unfolded over several nights in December 1980 in Suffolk, England. Multiple UFO sightings were reported by US Air Force personnel stationed at RAF Lakenheath and RAF Bentwaters. It started on the night of December 26th, when security personnel at RAF Woodbridge, part of the Bentwaters base, saw unusual lights near Rendlesham Forest. At first, they thought it might be a downed aircraft, so they decided to check it out. When they entered the forest, they were shocked to find a metallic, triangle-shaped object with blinking lights. It hovered silently above the ground and moved in ways that didn't match any known aircraft of that time. Marks on the ground suggested the object may have landed briefly. The following night, on December 27th, more witnesses, including Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, reported similar activity. Colonel Holt recorded audio during the event as he and others watched the strange lights moving through the forest. Witnesses described the object as moving with speed and control that was hard to explain. It sometimes released bursts of light and even seemed to shine beams into the woods. Radar operators at RAF Watton also picked up strange signals during the same period. The US Air Force did carry out a basic investigation. Their conclusion pointed to a mix of misidentified stars, the beam from the nearby Orford Ness lighthouse, and perhaps lights from a civilian aircraft. But many who saw the events, including trained military members, did not accept that explanation. They stood by their belief that they had experienced something far beyond ordinary. Over time, the Lakenheath Bentwaters incident attracted widespread interest from both the general public and UFO researchers. It has since been examined in multiple investigations and sparked ongoing debates, with various theories trying to explain what actually happened. Some believe that the sightings might have been related to secret military aircraft or experimental technologies being tested nearby. Others, especially those who closely follow UFO reports, think it could have involved extraterrestrial beings, suggesting that it might be solid proof of alien contact. Even today, the Lakenheath Bentwaters case is still unsolved. It's considered one of the most well-known UFO encounters ever recorded and continues to draw interest from scientists, skeptics, and believers around the world. But don't get too comfortable. This is just the start. Now we'll talk about one of the most talked about cases, the Betty and Barney Hill abduction. In September 1961, a couple from New Hampshire named Betty and Barney Hill had a strange and terrifying experience that changed their lives forever. While returning to the US after a vacation in Canada, they noticed an odd, glowing object in the night sky. They kept watching it, and as the object seemed to be following their car, their curiosity turned into concern. The closer it came, the more uneasy they felt. Eventually, they pulled over to get a better look. They described the object as disc-shaped and covered in lights. What started as curiosity quickly turned to fear. Sensing that something wasn't right, they rushed back into the car and sped off. But the scariest part hadn't even happened yet. As they continued driving, they realized something was wrong. About 2 hours of their journey were completely unaccounted for. They had no memory of what happened during that time. It was as if those 2 hours had disappeared. A few days later, both Betty and Barney started having intense dreams that replayed what they believed had happened that night. Disturbed by these dreams and still unable to recall the missing time, they decided to undergo hypnosis to see if they could recover their memories. While under hypnosis, they shared a chilling story. They claimed they were taken aboard the UFO and examined by strange non-human beings. The details of what they described were vivid and frightening. The Betty and Barney Hill abduction quickly caught national attention. Their case stirred up a lot of debate. Skeptics believed that their experience could have been a result of stress, imagination, or even mistaking a commercial aircraft for something more unusual. But many others believed their story. Supporters pointed to how consistent their accounts were and how emotionally intense their descriptions remained, even years later. Whether you believe it or not, the Hill story became one of the earliest and most famous reports of alien abduction. It helped bring more awareness to the idea of missing time and alien encounters, and opened the door to even more reports in the years that followed. Even decades later, the story of Betty and Barney Hill is still talked about, studied, and remembered. Another case that's often linked to possible extraterrestrial presence, and one that many think has been covered up by the Pentagon, is the Mount Rainier incident. This event took place on June 24, 1947, near Mount Rainier in Washington state. It's one of the earliest UFO sightings that made national headlines. On that day, private pilot Kenneth Arnold was flying his plane near the Cascade Mountains. While in the air, he saw something he couldn't explain. 9 shiny, crescent-shaped objects were flying in a V formation, moving incredibly fast. Arnold estimated the speed of these objects to be over 1,200 miles per hour, much faster than any plane at the time. He described their movement as being like saucers skipping across water. That comparison is what led to the term flying saucers, which became widely used from that point on. News of Kenneth Arnold's encounter spread quickly. It caught the attention of newspapers and the general public. That same year, reports of similar sightings began pouring in from across the country, leading to what people began calling the Summer of Saucers. Now let's talk about another sighting. This one happened in a small village called Broadhaven. In February 1977, something strange happened in Broadhaven, a village in Pembrokeshire, Wales. During lunchtime at Broadhaven Primary School, a group of children noticed something very unusual in the sky. What they claimed to see was a silver cigar-shaped object with a domed top, which appeared to land in a nearby field. Just imagine being a young child and seeing something like that. The children were shocked and rushed to tell their headmaster, Ralph Llewellyn. At first, he didn't believe them. But what made the situation more convincing was that multiple students reported seeing the same thing. To verify their claims, the headmaster separated the children into different rooms and asked them to draw what they saw. Surprisingly, the drawings were almost identical. Each one showed a similar saucer-shaped object with legs, just like something out of a science fiction movie. The similarity in the children's drawings raised even more questions. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened in Broadhaven back in 1977. Did those kids really witness something out of this world? Or was it something else entirely? Whatever it was, this incident still remains unsolved and continues to puzzle investigators and believers alike. And just when you think you've heard it all, there's even more. Another well-known UFO event is the Westall incident. So, what exactly happened in Westall? On what seemed like a normal day in April 1966, students and teachers at Westall High School, located in a suburb of Melbourne, Australia, saw something that would stay with them forever. The sky above their school revealed something they had never seen before, and it changed the way they looked at the world around them. Around mid-morning on April 6 that same year, both students and teachers looked up at the sky and spotted something unusual. Hovering low above the school was a shiny silver object. It wasn't something anyone had seen before. It looked exactly like a flying saucer. The object appeared to pause in the air for a moment, before slowly lowering itself into a nearby field. The mood quickly shifted to a mix of excitement and nervousness as the school grounds filled with people trying to get a better look. Everyone was eager to see what or who had just landed nearby. Witnesses were amazed by how smooth and metallic the object looked. Some were especially surprised by how it moved. Its speed and sharp turns seemed impossible under the rules of normal physics. The sight of this UFO sitting in the open left people completely stunned. But just as quickly as it arrived, the object was gone. It lifted off the ground in one swift motion and disappeared into the sky at a shocking speed. Those who saw it were left speechless, trying to make sense of what they had just seen. This event later became known as the Westall incident. News outlets and government officials took notice, but once the excitement died down, the official explanations left witnesses feeling doubtful. Authorities blamed the sightings on natural causes or misidentified objects. But the people who saw it believed otherwise. They knew something unusual had happened that day. Now let's jump to another strange case, this time in Lubbock, Texas. It was a warm night in August 1951. A few professors from Texas Tech University were sitting on a porch enjoying the evening. They had no idea they were about to witness something they couldn't explain. As they looked up at the night sky, a group of glowing blue lights appeared. These lights were flying in a V-shaped formation and moving incredibly fast. The professors were shocked. What could those lights possibly be? Curious and puzzled, they told their students about what they saw. Soon after, a group of students gathered outside, and they too saw the lights. This time, the lights looked even bigger, somewhere between 200 and 400 feet long. They flew through the sky without making a sound, leaving everyone who saw them completely amazed. The lights didn't follow any normal flight patterns. There were too many of them, and the way they moved didn't match anything they'd seen before. People quickly realized this was not a regular event. The sighting spread fast through the town, and soon everyone was talking about it. Many wondered, were these lights part of a secret military test, or were they something else entirely? The event drew the attention of the US Air Force, which investigated the case as part of Project Blue Book, a program created to study UFO sightings. When the Air Force gave their explanation, they claimed the lights were actually plover birds reflecting the city lights off their white bellies. But the professors and students weren't convinced. How could birds flying at night appear so large and move so quickly in formation without making any noise? The Lubbock lights were never fully explained. The incident stayed with people and became one of the most well-known UFO cases in history. Even decades later, that night in 1951 still stands out. Now, let's look at something even more recent and heavily documented. In 2007, the United States government started a secret program known as the Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Based in the Pentagon, this program focused on gathering and reviewing UFO reports submitted by military personnel. Luis Elizondo, a defense official with 2 decades of experience, joined the team in 2008. By 2010, he was leading the program and focused heavily on whether these sightings posed a threat to national security. He started digging into several reports, including one that stood out because of how strange it was. This particular case involved a white tic-tac shaped object spotted over the Pacific Ocean. 2 retired US military officers had brought attention to it. During training exercises, Navy pilots from the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich, were sent to check out unusual radar readings. The radar had picked up unidentified objects falling from 80,000 feet to sea level in under a second. Each pilot flew in separate jets, with a weapons systems officer riding along. As they reached the location, they noticed a strange disturbance in the ocean below, about the size of a commercial airplane. Hovering above that area was the white tic-tac shaped object. According to Dietrich, the object moved unpredictably, with no clear direction or pattern. The object had no markings, wings, or visible exhaust. As Fravor tried to get closer, it suddenly shot off and disappeared instantly. Moments later, radar systems picked it up again, now 60 miles away. And that was just one of many sightings. Navy pilots have since reported other strange objects shaped like cubes or triangles that made impossible moves, stopping instantly, making sharp turns and accelerating to speeds of up to 11,000 miles per hour. All of this happened in restricted airspace meant for military exercises, including areas near San Diego, Virginia, and Jacksonville, Florida. Researchers looking into these reports have noted several strange patterns in how these unidentified aerial phenomena behave. They seem to defy gravity. They accelerate suddenly without warning. They move at hypersonic speeds without creating sonic booms or showing any obvious form of propulsion. Some seem to be partially invisible or appear cloaked, and many can travel between air and water without slowing down, a behavior called transmedium travel. These characteristics are the ones that confuse national security experts the most. We don't have anything in our current arsenal that works this way. So, who or what could these things be? Some pilots have suggested they might be foreign surveillance aircraft, or even top-secret US military technology. But according to Elizondo, if another country had developed such advanced tech 75 years ago, and we still hadn't discovered it, that would be one of the biggest intelligence failures in US history. Does this suggest they came from another world? Elizondo encourages people to stay open-minded and avoid jumping to conclusions. These crafts could come from outer space, the asteroid belt, or anywhere in between. There's even a chance we're dealing with a form of advanced artificial intelligence capable of copying itself and communicating instantly across long distances through a quantum network. It's also possible that there's a hidden civilization under the oceans, and we're only now becoming advanced enough to detect their presence as they move through our skies, seas, and upper atmosphere. Do UAPs pose a risk to national security? While they clearly have the power to cause harm if they wanted to, Elizondo points out that so far they haven't shown aggressive behavior. Still, he warns that such advanced aircraft flying in restricted airspace should be taken seriously, as they could become dangerous. He believes the right way to handle this is through a unified government response that is both cooperative and open with the public. Is the US government still watching UAPs? Even after AATIP lost its funding in 2012, Elizondo kept looking into UAP encounters. He eventually stepped away in 2017, frustrated by the Pentagon's unwillingness to treat the issue seriously. Before leaving, he helped declassify 3 Navy videos showing UAPs and then worked to raise public awareness. These videos were given to the New York Times by Christopher Mellon, who had served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence under Presidents Clinton and Bush. Now a civilian, Mellon said he shared the videos to push the Defense Department to finally take the issue seriously as a matter of national security. Public reaction pushed Congress to act, and eventually the Pentagon admitted that AATIP had existed. They then brought the project back under the name UAP Task Force. Military personnel are now allowed to report UAP encounters. Around that time, Senator Marco Rubio, then head of the Intelligence Committee, requested a public report on UAP sightings from the Pentagon and the Director of National Intelligence by June 2021. Elizondo says the last barriers to full transparency lie with a small group of individuals who are quickly losing control over this secret. Thankfully, both Congress and the Department of Defense are now willing to handle this subject seriously. The pressure from service members and the general public has made it harder for the Pentagon to continue covering things up. What will the report reveal? To put together a complete report, a huge amount of data must be sorted, including videos, images, sensor data, collected signals, and a full review of the electromagnetic spectrum. The National Archives and Records Administration holds many collections of documents about UFOs and flying discs, which have been reviewed and studied for years in the search for more proof of extraterrestrial life. This includes declassified US Air Force documents, such as those from Project Blue Book, which are kept at the National Archives. Project Blue Book was a US Air Force program that ran from 1947 to 1969. During that time, 12,618 sightings were logged. According to an Air Force fact sheet, the project was based at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio and ended in 1969, with 701 cases still unexplained. Do these records offer solid proof of UFOs? Over the years, new records have continued to surface as documents in the National Archives are reviewed and filed. One example came when archivist Michael Rhodes was sorting through boxes of old Air Force documents. He noticed a sketch in the corner of a test flight report that looked surprisingly like the flying saucers seen in science fiction movies from that time. Rhodes shared his discovery in a 2013 blog post on the National Archives site titled Flying Saucers, Popular Mechanics, and the National Archives. In 1987, an article in Philadelphia Inquirer magazine covered a UFO sighting from 1983 when the crew of Japan Airlines Flight 1628 spotted an object while flying over Alaska. Data from the FAA, including radar simulations and incident reports, are available in the National Archives. The collection also contains notes from interviews with the 3 crew members. According to Marie Brindovas, a metadata technician at the National Archives in Seattle, the documents came to light during an effort to digitize Alaskan records. The National Archives also holds a video of Major General John A. Samford's 1952 statement on flying saucers, given at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. on July 31st. The film is part of their audio-visual UFO collection. What kind of evidence about aliens and UFOs could still be waiting in these archives as more documents get processed and declassified? That remains to be seen. But if history tells us anything, researchers and UFO watchers aren't giving up. The search continues, and the global interest in finding answers about UFOs and extraterrestrial life is only growing stronger. Is there a possible connection between the rare element 115 and alien spacecraft? Element 115 remains somewhat mysterious. It wasn't officially recognized as a chemical element until 2016. Yet for many years before that, it was at the center of theories linking it to advanced alien technology and civilizations. Curious. Let's start by understanding what element 115 actually is before we explore any possible connection. Like every element on the periodic table, its number reflects how many protons are in each atom. Element 115, also called moscovium, is an artificial superheavy element that contains 115 protons in its nucleus. That's 23 more protons than uranium, the heaviest naturally occurring element found in large amounts on Earth. This rare element is made artificially, one atom at a time, using particle accelerators. It doesn't stick around for long. It quickly decays into other elements. What makes it especially interesting is its location near a theoretical island of stability, a region where certain super-heavy elements might have longer lifespans. Instead of breaking down in less than a second, these elements might exist for minutes, days, or even longer. That kind of lifespan could make them useful in practical applications. So how was moscovium first created? In 2003, a group of researchers led by nuclear physicist Yuri Oganessian discovered it at the Flerov Laboratory for Nuclear Reactions in Dubna, Russia. The name moscovium was chosen in honor of Moscow, since Dubna is located nearby. To create it, the team bombarded atoms of americium-243, 243 Am, with ions of calcium-48, 48 Ca, that had been accelerated to roughly 10% the speed of light. This resulted in the formation of 4 moscovium atoms, made by fully merging 2 lighter atomic nuclei. It took scientists several more years to uncover some key details about moscovium. It wasn't until 2018 that researchers at Berkeley Lab successfully measured its atomic mass, or atomic weight, the combined total of protons and neutrons in the atom. They managed to create around 1 atom per day and captured it using a device called Fiona for the identification of nuclide A, which looks something like a small metal vault to the average observer. At this point, moscovium has only been used in scientific experiments. But scientists were able to lock down its atomic mass by repeating the same process used during its original discovery. Now, how does element 115 relate to aliens? Although it wasn't officially discovered until 2003, element 115 has been tied to extraterrestrial themes for decades, especially in connection to flying saucers and similar claims. One of the most well-known stories comes from Robert Bob Lazar, who gained attention in 1989 when he shared what he claimed was classified information about element 115. Lazar said he once worked at Area 51, the highly secretive part of the Nevada test and training range operated by the US Air Force. His job, according to him, was to reverse engineer alien spacecraft that had crash-landed on Earth. He insisted that an element as heavy as 115 couldn't be made naturally on Earth. According to Lazar, it would need to come from a region in space where the formation of super-heavy elements was naturally possible. Lazar claimed that 9 recovered alien crafts used a propulsion system that tapped into gravity in a unique way, and that element 115 played a central role in making these gravity-powered engines work. Interestingly, many of his statements haven't been fully debunked. Some sources have pointed out that the government has never confirmed or denied employing Lazar at Area 51. Even so, mainstream science still doesn't support his claims. The statements Bob Lazar made have nothing to do with the actual discovery of element 115, said physicist Mark Stoyer from the research team. Right now, all the moscovium atom scientists have created decay far too quickly to serve any purpose in powering advanced spacecraft. For the researchers working with it every day, that fact alone is enough to be excited about. Moscovium is a fascinating element. Stoyer explained that it shows how far science has come in understanding the building blocks of matter. So, while we may not have alien spacecraft powered by gravity-defying engines, what we do have is a solid advancement in nuclear physics. Scientists have created over 100 atoms of element 115 so far, and have begun to study how it behaves chemically and physically. Surprisingly, it's actually easier to produce moscovium than some lighter elements like element 112 or 113. Usually, as atomic number increases, creating a new element becomes harder, but that pattern seems to change when it comes to element 115. Still, most isotopes of moscovium decay rapidly, just as gold has 37 isotopes but only one that's stable. The hope is that someday researchers might produce a version of element 115 with a much longer half-life, even if it's just a few atoms. Then again, maybe aliens prefer not to interfere with our development, similar to the Prime Directive from Star Trek, which discourages advanced civilizations from disrupting less advanced ones. A darker theory is found in Ball's zoo hypothesis, which suggests aliens remain silent because they're running some sort of experiment, and we're the subjects. Ultimately, we can't know what a highly advanced alien civilization might believe or plan to do. So what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe to our channel for more content.